is going on, everybody? It's Acorn Man back with another LEGO Star Wars video, and today we're going to be comparing the very first ATTE back from 2003 to the latest and greatest ATTE from 2022. So that makes 19 years worth of difference between these sets, and as you guys can surely see, it really shows. Clearly LEGO has learned a lot in 20 years. But is the newer model truly better? We're just going to have to break it down and find out. Real quick, guys, don't forget to like and comment if you enjoy the video, and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Alright, so let's get on to the comparison. Alright, so here we've got them side by side. As you guys can surely tell, it is very cramped on the table right now. We've definitely got a lot going on here. Just like with my reviews, the first thing we're going to go over are the minifigures. Starting with the 4482 ATTE, we have 4 of the original style Clone Trooper minifigures. And if you guys saw my review for the original ATTE, you would know that these Clone Trooper minifigures are still my absolute favorite. I just love the simplicity of them as well as the cutout visor. It really gives it a lot more depth that I think the new ones are really lacking. And normally for me, simplicity is a good thing, but these might be a little too plain in comparison to the newer ones. All you've really got on here is some basic chest and basic back printing. I love the absolute hell out of these guys, but I just don't know if they can stack up to the newer clones. The 75337 ATTE comes with 8, that is literally twice as many as the original. First up, we've got Phase 2 Commander Cody, and unlike his Phase 1 counterparts over here, he is very well detailed, and not to mention very vibrant. Also, whereas the other clone troopers had basic black heads underneath their helmets, Cody here has a much more personalized face. Like I said, just so much more detail. Up next, we have a 212th Legion Clone Trooper, of which the new ATTE includes 3. Very nice, very well detailed. Other than these very ugly misplaced holes on the side of the helmet, it's a very good minifigure. Not perfect by any means, but certainly very good. And the next minifigure of the new ATTE is the Clone Gunner. Looking absolutely fantastic. These are one of my favorite clone variants of all time, so naturally I'm going to be a little biased here. I just love the greenish brown on the helmet tied in with all the gray throughout the suit. Very nice look, very well detailed. And in addition to the clones, we have 3 battle droids as well. Don't get me wrong, it's really nothing special, but there is just such a variety in the newer set's minifigures, and I just have to respect that. Really wish we would have gotten a super battle droid or a Magna Guard or something like that, but I still like the inclusion of a few battle droids. And while I don't consider the dwarf spider droid a minifigure, we might as well just go over it here. Not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but a very good inclusion to the set. Definitely offers more playability, and it's fairly well detailed given its size. Alright, so those are all the minifigures for these 2 sets, and I think the winner of this one is pretty clear. We have to give it to the 75337 ATTE. It has double the minifigures, and the majority of them are just so much better detailed. While I personally favor the Phase 1 suits over the Phase 2 suits, the old minifigures really can't even come close to the new ones. And in addition to these clones, we essentially get a droid battle pack. I mean, think about it, it's 3 droids, a mini build. You're basically just getting a droid battle pack in with your ATTE. Alright, let's get the minifigures out of the way. And onto the ATTE models themselves. Obviously, the newer one is so much more accurate, just overall better designed with more details and better colors, as well as improving upon the functionality of the original. For example, on the older model, to access the interior, we simply bring up this entire section there, and this reveals a small seating area as well as a speeder that can be accessed through the back, whereas the newer model folds up on each side to access its interior. And while it might not seem like it at first glance, I really think the new model just has so much more space on the inside, especially in the back there. Most of the old one's interior is really just taken up by this small speeder, which is an inclusion that I really like, but you really lose some good storage space for your clones. Not sure how big of a deal that is to you, but I think it's definitely something to consider. There are, however, a couple of things that I personally just favor on the older ATTE as opposed to the new one. For example, I prefer the fluidity of the movement in the older ATTE's cannon as opposed to the rigidness of the new one. I also prefer the method of getting inside of the older cockpit with the rotating door and the sliding out mechanism as opposed to the newer one where you kind of just have to pull the whole thing out. Like I said, not really a big deal, I just kind of prefer the older method. I think it's just a little bit more smooth, a little easier to get to, whereas the newer one can be a little bit finicky and kind of requires a little bit of extra force to get in and out. And while it's not a huge deal, the last thing I wanted to compare on these are the legs, because I think that's just where the biggest difference aesthetically lies. Don't get me wrong, the newer one definitely has better detail in the cockpit as well as the cannon, but the legs I think are just the biggest improvement on this model in the newer one as compared to the original. And while I do really like these printed plate pieces, the newer build technique is just so much better. Not to mention the older feet aren't even actually enclosed on the top like the newer ones are, which is just a flat-out inaccuracy to the original vehicle itself. So the win for the models themselves is going to have to go to the 75337 ATTE. The build is just so much better, so much more accurate, and while I really have a special place in my heart for the older LEGO aesthetic, I just don't think it can compete with what's on the shelves nowadays. So all in all, that gives the 75337 a 2 out of 2, and the 4482 a 0 out of 2. Making the new 2022 version the clear winner over the original 2003 version. But if I'm being honest, guys, I love both of these sets just about equally. Like I said earlier, I'm just a really big fan of the classic LEGO aesthetic, and as I've said, I just love the original Clone Trooper minifigures. So while this one gets the clear win, I would honestly have to recommend both of these for your collection. They're the same vehicle, I know, but they provide such different aesthetics. If I had to recommend one more than the other, obviously I would have to go with the 75337, but if you can find a good deal on the 4482, definitely do not pass that up. The ATTE is my favorite ground vehicle in all of Star Wars, guys, so it's virtually impossible for me to hate on either one of these. Also, I know that these are not the only two ATTEs that LEGO has released. I just don't have those in my collection. But even if I did, I think it's really been interesting taking a look at just the oldest and the newest ATTEs, just to show the biggest amount of difference. I don't know, something about that is just really interesting to me. But I think that's going to just about do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more LEGO Star Wars videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.